Hello and welcome to Global Eye. I'm Parikshit Luthra. We are starting the show focusing on the Bangladesh Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's visit to India. This is the first bilateral visit to India by a world leader since Prime Minister Modi took charge for the third term. This will be Sheikh Hasina's second visit to India in 15 days after she attended the swearing-in ceremony of the new government, and third visit since September 2023 when she came for the G20 summit. Bilateral trade between India and Bangladesh stands at $16 billion annually. Bangladesh exports to India amount to $2 billion. Both nations are likely to sign several MOUs to increase bilateral trade and strengthen the relationship. The issues likely to come up for discussion during her meeting with Modi include Dhaka's plan to develop cross-border Teesta Special Economic Zone, renewing the Ganga Water Sharing Treaty, supply of essential food items like wheat and onions, and management of the Mongla port, which is the second busiest port in Bangladesh after Chittagong, and India is considering developing it on the lines of Chabahar in Iran and Secy in Myanmar. China has already made a formal proposal for taking up the $1 billion project to develop the Teesta River, and India has raised security concerns over this as it is a border area. There will be discussions around the deteriorating situation in Myanmar, which shares its border with both India and Bangladesh. Joining me now is Shamsher Chowdhury, former Foreign Secretary of Bangladesh. He's also the recipient of Bir Bikram, the third highest gallantry award in Bangladesh. Also joining us is Ambassador Shashank, the former Foreign Secretary of India. Mr. Chowdhury, if I can begin with you, let me ask you about the significance of this visit. Sheikh Hasina, the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, is visiting India for the second time in 2 weeks. Next month, she heads to China. What is the strategic importance right now, according to you?
Thank you very much, Parikshit. But before I go to answer your question, let me say how wonderful it is to see my old friend Shashank. We were foreign secretaries together at the same time, and I really enjoyed working with him. In fact, I hope Shashank recalls that the land boundary agreement that eventually the Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's government signed with India, Shashank and I was involved deeply in doing the initial paperwork. So nice to see you, Shashank. I hope you're keeping well.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
This is undoubtedly a very important visit, and not just for the substance of it, but also the timing. I mean, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina was one of the few regional heads of government and states who were present or invited by Prime Minister Narendra Modi during his recent inauguration. But that was not bilateral, that was for a different occasion, although they had some discussions during that visit. But this is a far more substantive visit. It's bilateral. It's significant also that the Prime Minister of Bangladesh is the first foreign head of government to be visiting India after the current government in India has assumed office. So, it's a first
Right.
on many occasions. Now, as you very rightly pointed out, you broadly outlined what could be the issues that the two leaders will discuss, the two governments will discuss. On the larger framework, I would say that this is the time, because it's the beginning of the tenure of two new governments, both in Delhi and in Dhaka. So I hope this visit will lay out a roadmap for the relationship into the future, not just for the next 5 years, but perhaps for the next 25, 30 years onwards. So this is a historical relationship between Bangladesh and India. It's written in blood. Being a freedom fighter myself, a wounded one at that, I have very emotional attachment to our relationship with India and the importance that I attach to this relationship. Now, you said the Teesta water issue, and I'm glad to use the correct language for this, Parikshit, because it's not sharing of the Teesta waters, but management of the international rivers that between Bangladesh and India, because there is a water shortage everywhere, and we are both water dependent for our life and livelihood, agriculture, etc. And so we have to find ways for a long-term cooperative or collaborative arrangement where we learn to manage the water. And Tista is vitally important for us. It also, the strategic importance of Tista is near, north, and I rather have, India getting involved in it, and a positive outcome of how we look at this water management issue will have an enormous impact on building trust between not just the two governments, more importantly, between the peoples of the two countries. Our relationship in terms of connectivity is massive and is growing. I've been to Assam, I've been to Silchar, much better than I could before. Also,
Ambassador Chowdhury, I'm going to come to you once again. I want to get in an opening remark from Ambassador Shashank as well, and I'll come right back to you on the larger significance of the points on the table. Ambassador Shashank, China has been increasing its investments in Bangladesh as part of the Belt and Road Initiative for the past decade. Recently, Sheikh Hasina even inaugurated the first Chinese-built submarine base there in Bangladesh. The growing presence of China in India's neighborhood, is this a cause for worry right now?
Been talking for a long time about China's global ambitions, and they do have some impact on their neighboring countries in Asia. But let me first of all also welcome my old friend Shamsher, who is also a war hero and highly respected in Bangladesh. And I'm quite sure that he will be in a position once again, as our speaker today, lay down the roadmap and the achievements which have been made so far in our bilateral relations. So what China has been doing is a global ambitions. And there is an impact on the neighboring countries also. We have to make sure that while we have some people in India who want to have India's global role, but that is a longer term project. I mean, initiate thing is Act East policy, building infrastructure linkages with our neighboring countries and our friendly ties with them so that we can all become stable, economically secure, prosperous. And I think that is the thing where I find that Bangladesh is one of the most important countries in India's neighborhood to promote these ambitions of India in the regional level. And I agree totally with Shamsher that they are talking about water management rather than water sharing. Because if you talk of water sharing, everybody feels, both in Bangladesh and India, that we are handing over our waters to some other country. Even among these states in India, there is a great reluctance on handing over waters to other states. So therefore, this water management is important, and cleaning of the waters, environmental impact of the waters, they are also very important. Now, what is happening? China is definitely causing concern to India by setting up submarine bases, other acquiring ports in the region. But that we have to meet those concerns on our own, because if we Chinese have deep pockets to spend money, and we ourselves don't have those kind of deep pockets, but we have the great advantage that we don't want to take a policy-making role in our neighboring countries or in any countries where we have partnerships. So we go according to their priorities. So therefore, this is the main issue. Right now, we have been trying to build up alternative linkages via Myanmar, via Bangladesh, via Iran, and via so many other countries. So this is the very major issue which India has been indulging in. Sometimes other countries at the global level are not very happy about it, whether it's China, whether it's USA, whether Western countries who would feel. But these are the after effects of partition, of Indian independence, where traditionally we used to go directly to our northeastern states through Bangladesh territory, through Myanmar. There were constant sea linkages. Now they have all been stopped. It's a great obligation on the part of the government of India and government of Bangladesh to build up those linkages once again. And I'm quite sure that this will have an impact on their own societies, their own fears of having destabilization impact of people who would not like us to prosper. I think I will leave it at that for the time being.
Let me take that point. Let me take that point to Ambassador Chowdhury. Yeah, Ambassador Shamsher Chowdhury, if I were to come to you about the China question, considering the close defense and investment linkages between China and Bangladesh right now, would you say that Bangladesh's pivot right now is towards China, and this visit is a bit of a balancing act before Sheikh Hasina visits Beijing next month?
I don't think so. I think, you see, I define our relationship with India and with China in two different ways. With India, it is historical, it is strategic, it is geostrategic. With China, it is a major development partner. Now, if you recall, during our Prime Minister's visit to India, I think it was 2019, the joint communique issued after that visit said that Bangladesh-India relationships are based on history, language, and culture, which goes beyond strategic partnerships. So, and this was perhaps in response to the language used during the visit of President Xi Jinping to China, to Bangladesh, I think the same year, a few months before Prime Minister visit to India, where he said Bangladesh and China are now strategic partners, or relationship or strategic partnership, something like that. So I find it's not just a nuanced difference. I think there's a fundamental difference in this. And I see on the side, you're saying that China has granted Bangladesh 98% duty-free export, but it is the 2% that matters, because this 2% is what we actually can export. It's not the 98%. Our trade deficit with China is $21 billion. With India, we are now exporting $2 billion. There is a big trade deficit apart, but it took us 40 plus years to reach $1 billion exports to India. And it took us only 5 more years to double that, to cross $2 billion. But to China, our exports are less than $1 billion. It hangs around $900 million. So in terms of trade, the figures are misleading. Yes, China is one of our biggest trading partners, but it is mostly import from China, not so much export from Bangladesh. Now, the other issue that the two leaders will discuss...
You're absolutely right, sir. There is a big trade deficit. Yeah,
unusual.
I'll come back to that thought, sir. Okay, absolutely. Ambassador Shashank, what do you think will be the priority for Prime Minister Narendra Modi when the two leaders sit together? Do you think there are some immediate concerns of importance that both leaders would like to thrash out, something that India would like to prioritize?
Well, Prime Minister Modi has given a target to the government that within the first 100 days, we should be able to carry out some very meaningful projects and complete them. I'm quite sure that Bangladesh Prime Minister has also similar concerns to prove her decisive role in taking Bangladesh forward. And India and Bangladesh, I think right now are in the right trajectory. They are moving closer together. They are both very secure in their thinking that the only way they can remove the destabilizing forces within their own countries is by cooperating with each other in a very clear-cut manner. I think this seems to be one, and this will include the frequent exchanges at various levels, and above everything else, as we were talking about the infrastructure connectivity-related projects, which have been talked about in various other regional multilateral forums also. And then there was a feeling that we should build a bilateral, trilateral, quadrilateral type of relations so that we can, whatever advantages we can get through these relationships, we do that. And I'm quite sure that this is building up very well, and we should be inaugurating this new connectivity between our Northeast and Chittagong port and be able to increase our trade through this, apart from Siliguri corridor, the trade linkages from between Northeast and India through Bangladesh port by September.
Right. Okay. My final question to Ambassador Shamsher Chowdhury, as we're running out of time. Ambassador Chowdhury, briefly, if you could tell us what would be that one priority that Sheikh Hasina would have, which can really cement India-Bangladesh ties in the long term?
Yeah, I think this is a very pertinent question. It's a question of fighting perceptions or dealing with perceptions that are in Bangladesh. And some of them are actually not just perceived, but real. You see, India has a very generous line of credit for Bangladesh. It's $8 billion, which is India's largest commitment to any country in the world. The problem is the utilization rate of that line of credit. So far, the last 10 years, it is only 20%, 21% of it has been used. And there are many, impediments on the way. One is the bureaucratic entanglements, mostly on the Indian side, the interest rates, the kind of issues that come. So I hope the two leaders will find or agree on ways where the disbursement rate of Indian bilateral credit is restructured in a way that more projects in Bangladesh financed through the Indian line of credit and in a faster pace. And this is where China has an advantage because they don't have that much bureaucratic issues to deal with, but India does have, which is probably normal for a democratic country like India. So these perceptions, these issues have to be addressed. And let us, find ways where we can. This is a concern in Bangladesh that India has promised $8 billion, but why only less than 20% of it has been used. Now, managing once the China built up, China is not managing or building any port in Chittagong. No, the biggest strategic port in Chittagong area is the Matabari port, which is 100% Japanese finance, Japanese technology, and Japanese management. The Mongla port is an issue where India has a deep interest. And I hope the two leaders will agree on how to find a solution that is a win-win for both sides, because ports are becoming a very important issue in terms of the geopolitics of the region, Indo-Pacific. The Belt and Road Initiative of China, frankly, my own take on that, it's not impacting in a major in Bangladesh. We are too far down south. It's perhaps more important for Sri Lanka or Maldives or Pakistan or Myanmar. But for Bangladesh, the BRI has very little traction. What does have a traction is the relevance of Bangladesh. The Prime Minister Hasina has taken Bangladesh to a level where we are important, we are relevant, and how China and Bangladesh can work together, address the concerns that prevail amongst the people in Bangladesh, that India is a historical friend, but India needs to do more to earn greater trust of the people of Bangladesh. And one way is to see more Indian investments, more Indian finance projects in Bangladesh, infrastructure and otherwise. And, I think the people-to-people contact is fine, and is growing. And connectivity is there, but it's not totally seamless. There are a lot of problems at the border that one has to face. Importantly, one must also recognize that the Indian High Commission's visa office in Dhaka is the largest Indian visa office anywhere in the world, which is actually a reflection of the amount of travel between our two countries by the people, ordinary people. I'm not saying just government-level people. So this is a very good thing.
We're running out of time. I'll have to leave it there, but that's a very important message that you leave us with. Yes, we have historical ties, but it's probably time for India to walk the talk on that historical friendship as well and win the trust of people of Bangladesh. Ambassador Chowdhury, Ambassador Shashank, thank you very much for joining us. We're heading into a short break on the program, but up next, US-China ties could be headed for more stress after US Congress delegation met Tibetan spiritual leader Dalai Lama at his residence in Dharamshala. A discussion with Robert Barnett of